They said it couldn't be done. A truck so long it looked more like a freight train than a road vehicle. A beast that stretched over 200 meters, powered not by one, not two, but 8 roaring diesel engines chained together like wild bulls. This wasn't some over-engineered concept cooked up in a lab. This monster actually hit the dust-covered roads of the Australian Outback and moved like it had something to prove. This is the story of the longest truck ever to roll across the sunburnt heart of the world. You don't survive in the Outback by being average. You survive by being unstoppable. The terrain doesn't care how expensive your equipment is. It doesn't care about your GPS or safety systems. What matters is brute strength, grit, and reliability. That's what made this record-breaking road train so unbelievable. What? It didn't just exist. It worked. It hauled real cargo across real roads in some of the harshest trucking conditions known to man. The monster we're talking about was built in Australia for one reason: to move massive amounts of freight efficiently through the most remote areas on Earth. The team behind it knew the risks. They weren't trying to build something flashy. They were chasing practical dominance, solving the problem of long hauls in a land where towns can be hundreds of miles apart and fuel stops are rarer than rainfall. This wasn't just a publicity stunt, it was innovation built from necessity. The setup was jaw-dropping. At the heart of it was a fleet of Kenworth K100 prime movers, each packing a powerful diesel engine and built to handle the heat, dust, and brutal pounding of Outback roads. The K100 wasn't chosen just for its looks. It had the strength and legacy to back it up. These units were coupled together with custom-engineered dollies and turntables, forming one seamless, articulated convoy capable of pulling over 1,000 tons when fully loaded. Let that sink in. 1,000 tons. That's over 2 million pounds of payload, dragging through blistering heat, red dust storms, and unpaved tracks. The Guinness World Record was officially smashed in 2006 when John Atkinson, a veteran road train operator, drove this 112-wheeled Titan just outside Clifton, Queensland. The train stretched an eye-watering 1,174 feet, nearly 5 football fields long, and yes, it moved. Not quickly, not quietly, but it moved. To coordinate such a massive operation, everything had to be perfect. Brake timing, throttle coordination, weight distribution. It was like conducting a diesel-powered symphony where one offbeat note could mean disaster. Unlike your average semi, this wasn't something you just jump into and drive. It took months of planning, permits, and expert engineering just to get it on the road. And when it finally did, the sight was nothing short of biblical. Spectators lined the roads just to catch a glimpse of it rolling by. Some watched in silence, others erupted into cheers as the mighty machine crawled past, like a mechanical dragon with trailers for scales. It was a moment of pure mechanical theater, but under all the spectacle, it was still a trucker's game. Dirty boots, diesel fumes, and nerves of steel. And let's talk about the power. Each of the 8 Kenworths had to be meticulously calibrated to work together without tearing each other apart. No automatic lane keeping, no cruise control, just raw mechanical synchrony. Communication between drivers was done the old-fashioned way. CB radios, hand signals, gut instinct. The lead driver had to trust that every man behind him knew exactly what to do and when to do it. One wrong move could cause a whip-like effect that would jackknife half the train or snap a dolly clean off. But here's the craziest part. This wasn't some one-off alien concept. Road trains like this, though not always this long, are a normal part of life in the Australian interior. Triple and even quad trailer rigs are a daily sight on highways like the Stuart or the Great Northern. And while none of them match the length of the record breaker, they all share the same DNA, power, endurance, and a refusal to quit. It takes a different kind of driver to handle this stuff. We're not talking about short-haul city runs. These guys are hauling cattle, mining equipment, and fuel across thousands of miles with almost zero backup. If you break down in the Outback, you don't call roadside assistance. You fix it yourself, or wait, maybe a day, maybe 2. That's the reality. That's the level of trust these machines demand. And the roads? You might as well forget the word road. Half the time it's dirt, dust, gravel, and potholes that could swallow a car. Throw in flash floods, sandstorms, and searing 110-degree heat, and you've got the perfect storm for mechanical failure. But the 200-meter monster didn't flinch. It rolled through all of it, grunting and grinding and making history in the process. The record-setting run proved one thing: when you give truckers the right tools, they can make the impossible look easy. But this was more than just a record, it was a symbol of how far engineering, courage, and dirt under the fingernails determination can go when the job simply has to get done. You'd think a machine that long would be impossible to maneuver, but that's where the brilliance kicks in. The dollies connecting each trailer weren't just slabs of steel, they were engineered with precise pivot points, custom air suspension, and reinforced axles. Every section had to work in harmony. One bad link in that chain, and the entire truck could buckle like a folding chair in a windstorm. But when it all clicked, it was a thing of beauty, and don't mistake this for just some heavy load convoy crawling down a freeway. These road trains operated in conditions that broke lesser machines. The Outback doesn't offer second chances. If a tire blows, if an axle snaps, or if an engine overheats in the middle of nowhere, you're on your own. The heat alone could fry electronics. And the drivers, not rookies. These were hardened professionals who understood the terrain, the mechanics, and the risks. It wasn't about driving fast, it was about driving smart, monitoring temperature gauges, listening for strange vibrations, checking chains, rechecking brake lines. It was a full-time job just staying ahead of disaster. You weren't just a driver, you were a mechanic, a navigator, a survivalist. And yet, with all that pressure, all that heat, all that weight, these trucks worked. They didn't just function, they set the bar. Other countries tried to replicate the concept. Some succeeded, but nowhere else in the world has the unique combination of landscape, culture, and trucking DNA like Australia. The Roadtrain was born from this environment, forged by isolation, perfected by necessity. What's even more incredible is the sense of pride that surrounded it. These weren't just jobs, these were legends in motion. Kids grew up wanting to drive them, mechanics bragged about working on them, fleet owners put their company names on the sides like badges of honor. Because this wasn't just freight, it was proof. Proof that if you built it strong enough and drove it smart enough, nothing was too far. Today, road trains still thunder across the Outback. Most don't hit 200 meters, but the DNA is there. Triple trailer rigs hauling freight across endless dust trails. Drivers still sleep in bunks behind the wheel, still wake up before sunrise, still grease the axles, check the straps, and roll out into the unknown. It's a lifestyle, not a shift. Technology has crept in. GPS, satellite comms, better suspension. But the soul hasn't changed. It's still diesel in your veins, still wind rattling the mirrors, still red dirt coating everything you own. That old school toughness, still alive and well, and the record itself, it's never been officially broken. Not for sheer length with practical operation. Others have built experimental hauls, but no one's matched that crazy combination of 8 prime movers, 112 wheels, and over 1,000 tons moving under their own power across real ground. Not in a movie, not on a track, on a real road. It reminds us that while technology races forward, some of the most awe-inspiring feats are still mechanical, still tangible, still down to earth. And in the red heart of Australia, where the skies stretch forever and the roads vanish into the heat, there's always room for one more legend on wheels.